schools should adopt AI and allow for AI. And I will elaborate on that for a moment. Somewhat similar to maybe many years ago when the calculator was invented, and then years later when Excel came out. There probably were folks who said, don't use Excel. Those folks are probably not teaching anymore today. Tools and technology are going to continue to evolve. They will continue to give us new tools that make us humans more efficient. And then there'll be two types of people. There'll be the folks who adapt to this and then can become more efficient, faster. Before the call, you were telling me how you edit using AI. Yeah, if you want, you can edit this video without using AI. Yeah. If people want to go about writing documents and do everything manually and then try and sort of, rather than print it 10 times, manually write it out again 10 times, go ahead and do that. The world is moving in a certain direction, and we can definitely talk about how schools can adapt to this new world. There is a deeper question, and that is, are there ways that we humans can now think in a more creative way now that we see how AI makes decisions? I'll give an example here. For many, many years, we were programming computers. And the way we were programming computers was, anybody who's done any computing will tell you it starts with if, while, and not. And that is the basics of computers. Why? Because we taught computers to think like humans. We think with if 1 is bigger than 2, or if 1 is smaller than 1. That's how we learned. Right. Today, AI has gotten so much better, and it's coming up with creative ways of problem solving that we humans struggle with. It's the first time in history that we can say, 1 second, maybe we humans can learn a new type of logic because we can see AI is becoming creative. We can see AI is coming up with new ideas that we couldn't. Maybe we can learn, like we taught many years ago, AI human logic. Maybe it's time for us to teach ourselves, humans, AI logic. And AI logic is something that will allow us, whether we're educators or students, to prosper in ways that we didn't imagine.
Okay, I got questions, because here's the thing. Let's bring up the example about me. Like we were talking before we hit record, I was like, yeah, I'm going to edit this utilizing AI that's going to do the editing for me. However, years ago, when I first started, so I've been podcasting for 5 years. And those first years of podcasting, I was manually doing it myself. So I know the mechanics, the basics of how to edit and produce, publish a podcast from start to finish. Yes, now I can utilize AI as a quote unquote faster way to do it. And it's going to be very similar to, but there's still some, it's not perfect. I still have to go back in sometimes and fix a little here and there. There's little parts that might not be perfect. There's some words that get taken out that shouldn't have been taken out. There's little stuff that's there. I think that there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to argue, well, kids need to know the basic mechanics, fundamentals first, then they should utilize AI. So I'm just curious, what is your thoughts on that?
So let's just take that one as an example. When you said the basics and you learned the basics for editing your movies and videos and pictures. So did you learn the basics of how to go into a dark room and take camera footages and let it distill overnight and wait until the morning and dry them? And then, So the basics are changing as well.
Okay.
As technology adapts, the bottom rank of basics is moving up.
Okay.
And you always need to go one step back so that when AI does something weird, you're able to catch it and retrain it. But even what you called the basics was probably the advanced sessions only a few years ago.
Fair enough. That's a good point. And I never thought about it that way, because I was going to hit you with the calculators, because like my daughter's in 9th grade right now and she's taking Algebra 1. And she's like, the teacher said, we can't utilize our calculators in class. They want us to learn the formulas, the equations, all that stuff, and be able to do it manually by hand. So I think you bring up a really good point where it's like basics is where basics is relative to today's time. Is that basically what I'm hearing?
Yeah. And I'll say, like, some of the basics they say you still probably want a child to know 5 times 5 because you're understanding how multiplication works. But you're not going to spend as long as teaching children how much is 5,497 times 366. You once used to do that. And sometimes they still try and play around with kids to do that. But I would argue kids are better off spending their time learning other, probably skills, rather than long multiplication.
Okay, so it sounds like you debunked the whole argument that all the kids need to know the foundations. Yeah, they maybe it's so what I'm hearing, I guess, is yes, it's good to understand some of the quote unquote fundamentals, but maybe you don't have to spend as much time because there are other tools and resources that we can utilize that can do those same functions. So having a basic understanding makes sense, but then there's ways that we can progress from what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's fast forward. AI is here. It's happening. Embrace it. It kind of like 10 years from now, who knows where we're going to be at, but like it's now is a great time to get on board. What are some of the benefits that teachers can implement or utilize when it comes to artificial intelligence in class?
Okay, so there's many, but I will take on one which is a little bit different. And the reason I want to do this is because I think today artificial intelligence is gotten to a stage where it could help us think differently.
Okay.
Not provide us with an answer, because that is something you're seeing a lot today. People just using, whether it's ChatGPT or one of the other ones, they're prompting it, give me the answer. I think slowly where we will start going is to a stage where we will ask ourselves, can we think more creatively like AI does? And I'll give you an example. So when you today Google something, and I'm sure you Google something very frequently, you're typing in Google and you're saying, I don't know, Christmas presents. And I want Google to give me back sort of the top 10 ideas for Christmas presents. Google has to now very, very quickly decide what is going to be the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's a very, very difficult challenge. It's one that in theory could take forever because there's so many different options. Even Google knows it's not able to go in that fraction of a time through every single option and give me back the best ones. It's making guesses along the way, like we humans have to do. When you say, what should I study in school? What should I pursue as a major in college? Even what ice cream should I buy? Okay, Google is making guesses very, very quickly and trying to optimize. And one of the things Google is learning to do today more than ever with AI is take random guesses along the way and not just doing A/B tests, which maybe you teach in school saying, is this option better than this option? Let me try this option. But rather, every so often, it's trying something completely random and throwing it into the A/B testing. Why is the artificial intelligence behind Google doing that? You would have thought that it should just do A is better than B, so let's carry on with A. Let's try a new B. Is A still better than B? That's what we teach today in school. Take two options, keep trading them off until you get to your best option. But Google is doing something completely different. Every couple of A/B testings, the AI has learned to try something completely random. Why is that? And the answer is AI has learned that every so often you need to try something completely random. In my book, I call it an X, a random thought. And in creative thinking, we humans are now learning that AI is not wrong. When we're trying to think about problems creatively, sometimes you need to step back and say, I'm going to try an X, something completely different. We're trying to come up with a new type of ice cream flavor. We're trying to see, what do I want to pursue? Do I want to be a mathematician or do I want to be a doctor? You know what? Let me take a dance class. Every so often in your A/B testing, AI is saying to us, you know what? You need to throw in an X. And I'm using this as one example, but to answer your question, what I think we're going to slowly start learning from AI is not just ChatGPT, give me the answer, or write this essay for me, but ChatGPT or equivalent AI, can you teach me in my own thought process? Are there things I should take into consideration so that I, Judah, or any one of the students in your school can potentially make better decisions and get to a better outcome? And this is a much deeper learning from artificial intelligence. It's not just to do a quick piece of work for me. It's actually making me better, allowing me get to a better result, just like Google does.